evening, everyone. Welcome to Sports Unplugged. My name is Kev, and with me tonight is the usual Chris Brack. Evening, Chris. How you doing, mate?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Not too bad. Listen, we had a great plan of what we were going to do tonight and stuff we were going to get through,
Did we?
then it kind of went a bit sideways with Arsenal asking to get a game postponed.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I was going to talk about this anyway because of the amount of games that are going to have to be made up in the, from a standing start from now. The likes of Leicester are going to have 4 games to make up. Burnley are up to 5. A lot of the league sides are on 2 or 3 that they have to make up. And COVID isn't going away. So at some point, the league are going to have to put their hand up and say, look, enough. But the problem is, and I understand, how do you feel about it first and foremost?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one because I get the COVID cases because quite a few, I think every club's been hit by it, so I get that. The injury ones is a little bit of a grey area for me because all clubs get injuries, and you have to suck it up, and you use your squad, and if you can't use your squad, you use your kids. Because I think isn't the Leicester one is they haven't got enough fit players, but it's not really COVID case. It is they've got a lot of long-term injuries, which is very unfortunate for them. But a bit like you kind of have to deal with that. I mean, I don't know the ins and outs of the Arsenal. The rumor is Arsenal have got 2 COVID cases, but a lot of it is long-term injuries.
Yeah,
I think the reason such a big hoo-ha is there was a big social media hoo-ha about Liverpool, postponing the game, and a lot of moral high ground and high horsing from certain fans. So, I always think be careful going on these high horse things because they tend to come back and bite you in the arse a little bit. The bit I find a bit weird is that Arsenal only got 12 senior players now that they can choose from, but they would have had 14, but they loaned 2 lads out. Now they're young lads, but they've loaned them out, and the lads who've been in and around the squads. So I'm a bit like, it's very early in the window. Generally, most of these loan deals get done quite late in the window because you know where you are then. So there is a little part of me going, you could have had Nathan Niles. You could have got Nathan Niles until last week in Jan, which means you could have played the game. So, and look, I think Spurs aren't happy because they probably think it's an opportunity to play a weakened Arsenal side. Win a North London derby. You can get that point of view. So,
I mean, my biggest issue with all of this is the transparency and the lack of it. Man City apparently have a player with COVID problem. We've already been told by Manchester City that no one will ever know who that is. So we have to take them on their word that that's what's going on there.
Well, as long as the league, I assume they'll probably tell the league.
Yeah,
they can't just say the league. We've got a COVID case. I'm not telling you who. I think as long as the authorities know, then I mean, the nicest way, we don't need to know. I know everyone likes to know, but ultimately, as long as the leagues know and all the
ordinarily, Chris, I'd have said, yeah, that's fair enough. But my biggest issue with this now is that because everyone is left to the guessing game, nobody knows what's going on, and nobody trusts anybody. And
no,
that's the biggest problem. The league have lost the moral authority and the trust of fans, especially fans who are traveling to games. I mean, it's okay if you're in London and you live in London and you're going to Tottenham, Arsenal, it's not a big hassle for you. But if you're an Arsenal fan or a Spurs fan traveling from Ireland and the game is, and you're sat there on Friday night and the game might be called off on Saturday, you don't know, and your flight is Saturday, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place. These are big global clubs with global fan bases that travel to these games. This is the biggest game of the year, for a lot of these fans. And to drop it on them at the last minute is a bit ridiculous. And the problem is they're running out of time, because once the European games start back up for
a lot of
TV, for a lot of clubs, but mainly you look at the TV revenue that they've lost out on. Once the Champions League and the Europa League and the Conference League starts back up, that's Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday TV slots taken. The Monday night football and the Friday night football aren't going to change. So all of these clubs have lost out on however many millions in TV revenue as it is, plus fans traveling to and from games. It's getting to be a nightmare. And the FA Cup showed every club all 92 clubs are capable of putting out a side. Right
It's just
now,
it's the balancing act of they can put a side out, but is it what you want to watch? Do you want to watch? Liverpool got through, which is fine, but you could have had a case where it could have been, I don't know, Tottenham got beat by Morecambe because Tottenham had to play their under 18s. Which, look, if that's the rules, that's the rules. But you're going, it's not really a giant killing, is it? It's not really, Tottenham Morecambe's over telling you going, yeah, but I'm watching Tottenham under 18s play Morecambe. It's kind of not what I want to see. I kind of want to see Morecambe against Tottenham, and can it be a real cup upset? The purest in me. That was what you'd like to see. But yeah, I mean, the other thing that's farcical is in the Premier League and the League Cup, it's one rule. FA Cup has a different rule. Europe has a different rule. It's got to be a bit more uniform, I think, across the board. As people at chat are pointing out, is you're not seeing these levels of cancellations across Europe. And let's be honest, it's not like the rest of Europe. Oh, they hardly have any COVID cases. Everywhere's pretty much probably as bad as each other now with COVID. You can't escape it. But they are doing things that I think Bayern Munich had to play a game and they had 2 or 3 16-year-olds on the bench. That's what they had to do. It's the consistency or the perceived lack of consistency. Look, ultimately, if Arsenal follow the protocol that says, yes, we've got this many players missing, we have only got 12. Well, the rule we've been told is you need 13 plus including the goalkeeper. So if they've only got 12, the game can't go ahead. We could all.
I mean, this is all
wasted energy kicking off over it.
No, this is a problem that's been created by the Premier League.
Yeah,
ultimately, this is the Premier League didn't set the guidelines clearly from the very start, and I have no doubt the clubs have manipulated this process. I have no doubt about it whatsoever. And the way things are now, you've got probably. All right, let's put it this way. Arsenal, Tottenham, West Ham, Man United are going to be fighting for top 4, right? Now, that's huge. That's a huge money spinner where a point or 3 points could be the difference. It could be absolutely massive. Now, Tottenham were able to get games postponed earlier in the season, and now they're looking back to somewhat, say, just for argument's sake, they're back to full fitness, full strength. Arsenal are now in the exact same boat that Tottenham were in, only 6 weeks later, but the pressure is coming from everyone, myself included, for Arsenal to be forced to play at a disadvantage when Tottenham, Arsenal would be at a disadvantage, and Tottenham didn't have that disadvantage, if you know what I mean. So, because they've allowed this to go on for so long, it's going to be a nightmare. I don't know how they're going to play this out because, as I said, when you got the likes of Burnley, Leicester, and a lot of other clubs are on 3 games to make up. 3 games is probably about the limit of where you'd want to be.
I mean, we're lucky we've only got 1. I think City have managed to avoid a replay.
Yeah,
so
City
far.
don't have any.
So I think Chelsea have only got 1, maybe 2. So a few clubs have been fortunate, that's what we've all. But we said this weeks ago and this isn't a dig at Arsenal, this isn't a dig at Tottenham.
No, it's not.
The protocols are there, and that's what it is. It's the lack of transparency or the lack of clear thinking by the Premier League and the FA. Because, not be funny, COVID's been here for 2 years, so I'm not accepting this. Oh, it's unprecedented. We've seen how rapidly COVID spreads through the whole of the UK, and the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. It wouldn't take a genius to go, well, what happens if a football team gets 10 players with COVID and they can't play for 2 weeks? What do we do? And they easily could have just, not easily, but they could have wrote a protocol saying, right, this is the cut-off point, and this is the notice period. Anything below this threshold, anything above this threshold, you play, and it will mean that you've got to play very weakened sides, but that's the rule. And if you looks in, you looks in. But look, they haven't done that, so
it's up in the air, and it seems to me like they've flip-flopped on it all the way through. It's some clubs are getting games called. I mean, I don't imagine that Arsenal would ask for this game to be called off if they didn't have all their ducks in a row.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't do because you look really stupid if you say, and you make it known to it's been known to everyone that they want the game called and it doesn't get called off. You know, you think either they've not followed the protocol properly, or again, the other thing which you wouldn't be surprised is the rules have changed again.
Yeah.
You know,
But
and it'll be public pressure while they change it. Oh, we
I think
decided
so.
now you've got to have just as long as you can put an 11 out. We don't care
But
what
you're
11 it
subtly
is.
getting the pressure coming from the media companies now when you had the likes of Carragher and Neville talking about it tonight. So the media companies, through the pundits, are putting indirect pressure on the leagues to get these fixtures played. And I understand their point of view. I understand the logistics of all of this as well, with the calendar where the dates going forward into the next 3-4 months just aren't really, they're not as plentiful as they would have been before. You know, granted, you have extra slots where you would have had cup replays, but that's to say that's assuming that there's no more games called off from now going forward. All it takes is another one or two. Imagine if Burnley end up with 6 or 7 or 8 games,
you know, to have
to be replayed.
You don't know when they're going to play them because, as we all commented, you know, the last weekend of January is actually a free week. But you're not allowed to play games in that because it's an international weekend. It's an international week for South Americans, and I think some Asian qualifiers as well.
Yeah.
So it's a free weekend, but it's not. It's basically actually for European players, it's a winter break.
Yeah, from what I understand, and Laura's in the chat, Laura will be able to correct me. This is due to the South American Championships being played when it was played at a time when their World Cup qualifiers should have been happening and didn't. So because those games have to be made up, they had to create one slot to do it. And it so happens that this is the slot that they decided to settle on.
That's a better idea than the other situation where you're having like 3 games in a week and South American lads which coming out on the day of the game, which that doesn't help anyone.
That doesn't help anyone, no.
No, so look.
But
way,
I mean,
whatever decision was agreed on, no one's going to be happy. I think a lot of the chatter like that. I think look, social media is the way it is, the hyperbole it is. It's because of how certain fans reacted and the over the top reactions we saw. Now it boots into a foot and it's laughing at the backtracking. Look, we said at the time, look, the game gets called off because you follow the protocol. It gets called off. It's annoying. If the game gets called off Thursday, it'll be annoying. But it is what it is. And also,
the later they leave it, the more annoyed people are going to get. That's just
exactly
the way it is. But
I mean, look, last night, do we want to talk about it or?
Do you know? Look, I was on last night. I've had my say on it. You were watching it. I mean, when the starting 11 was announced, what were you like?
I was all right with it. I know everyone will go, oh no, it's this. And look, I've already got one in the chat who's saying net spend is 3.6 million since December. Who gives a shit? Yeah. And I had people messaging me at half time saying big summer ahead of us. I'm like, it's a bloody semi-final. You're talking about signings. But look, I saw the 11. I thought it was fine. I thought they probably went for experience and probably thought they'd pressurise Arsenal. What the thing that frustrates me is we didn't play very well. Once we went down to 10 men, we actually lost our way. We didn't keep stretching them wide, which is basically how we got the players sent off anyway. But the big thing for me was, and this is nothing to do with signings, owners, and if you don't like this, I don't care. The manager had a bit of a nightmare, as did, to be honest, bar Matip and Alisson, every senior player had a nightmare that night.
Yeah.
It was pretty obvious to me that, and I'm a Luddite, I'm no football genius, I'm just some lad who watches football on telly. You didn't need 3 holding midfielders once they're down to 10. You needed something with a bit more spark. And you saw Curtis Jones came on, he gave you a spark, he made things happen. I know he gets a lot of grief. The 15 minutes that Nico Williams came on did more than the 60 minutes that Trent did. Listen, Trent's brilliant, but Trent stank the gaff out.
Yeah.
Nico does not have a delivery of a Trent. He isn't Trent Alexander-Arnold. But at least when he came out, he was positive. He just got the ball, he just ran at Arsenal. And do you know what? After being defending like as a team for so long, you saw him running at them and he just get shit out of them. Sometimes it's very crude, but that's what you needed. So it's a missed opportunity. It's a missed opportunity.
Yeah,
I think if Manamino gets that shot off at the end, which he should score really, and we win 1-0, we all probably go a bit more like, well, it's one of them. But, and people, there's lots of stats going around, Liverpool have faced 10 men 6 times this year. They've only scored 3 goals, which isn't great. But when you look at those games, one of them was we were 5-0 up at United. Leeds and United were already leading. Leeds were 2-0 up. United, we were 5-0 up, so it didn't really matter. Atletico
started the season.
Chelsea started the season, which Chelsea are very good at defending. We didn't play very well that game. What's we won? Atletico Madrid. We were 2-0 up, and then the other time we got it to 3-2. And then obviously the Arsenal game tonight, which wasn't great, but it's all ifs and if plus and maybes. Minamino goal goes in. You've got the same statistics as City did against Arsenal. When Arsenal went down to 10 men against City, City had 10 attempts and they had 1 on target, which they scored from. We didn't score from a 1 on target, but no one talks about it. So
no, it's one of them. I mean, it's halftime. Are you? Yeah. How are you feeling? I mean, look, it's halftime. You got Brentford at the weekend, and you got Arsenal Thursday night. Assuming that everything is right and rainy with Arsenal, everything's okay. Are you comfortable? Are you confident going to the Emirates?
We don't have the best record there, so which does bring a bit of nervousness. But it'd be interesting. I can't see him at home playing that defensive because he used to do that and he got him results, but he got him a lot of stick and he didn't like that. So for me, I'm a bit like I think it'll probably suit us. I'm not sure he'll play that same front three. I think he might try and mix it up. If it was me, I'd probably start Chamberlain with Fabinho and Henderson. Looking the chat, some of the chat going on mad because like Henderson, but who else are you going to start at the moment? Because all the other experienced options we could use to rotate Henderson out to give him a breather is one of them. And look, the Henderson bashing starts again. He's been poor for about a month. He has.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for us, the lads who we would bring in like a Thiago to basically give him a breather and say, find your form again. He's injured. Keita's in Afcon. What can you do? And Jones, who probably would have got ball games than he should have, and he has already, tore a tear in the back of his eye, which is the most bizarre injury I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, so that's more of a boxing injury.
Yeah,
you hear that a lot in boxing.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you
don't hear it too much in football, detached retina, it's serious injury. It could have been a career ender for him.
If you want to talk about eye injuries, if you've not seen it, watch the Michael Bisping documentary.
Seen it.
That is unreal. What happened to his eye? The guy basically won a world title with one eye.
Yeah, I was watching it that night.
Yeah, because when you watch it back, he won't go into details, but he found a way of passing a medical, but he openly admits he couldn't see out of one eye. So he won a world title with one eye. So
yeah,
and he has to wear like a fake eye. But yeah, so I'd probably think I'd actually start Jones on the left of the front.
I was going to say, let's start with the Liverpool game for one second. Look, we'll go through the Premier League fixtures because it's a massive weekend for the Premier League. It's absolutely huge. There's potential season-defining games up and down the league this weekend. And us v Brent, look, for every game that we play from now until the end of the season, they're all must win, as far as I'm concerned. They're must win 100%. We've given up the luxuries of bad performances, and we're in the middle of a dodgy January. We're in a horrible run of form.
Yeah.
But we have to get a win. How do you see, after what Klopp said today at his press conference, and with Brentford coming on the back of I think a 4-1 defeat to Southampton, but it wasn't really as bad as a 4-1 scoreline suggests. It was a deflected goal, one late on, another one against the run of play. It's just, you get some games like that go against you. But how do you see the weekend going?
Look, we're at home. We should win, and that's what we should be doing at home. Brentford in bottom half of the league. This is how we have to be beaten. No excuses. I could see probably 3 changes from the side that played on Thursday. I think Simicast will come in for Robertson, who did have a great game. I literally think Trent keeps his place because he A, needs a minute, and B, there is still a big drop off to Nico. As much as he played all right when he came on, it's not the same. Sorry, 4 changes actually. Sorry, I think Karate comes in for Matip. I think it's what his pace, and he'll want to keep Matip wrapped up for the semi-final. Because to be fair to Matip was fabulous.
Yeah, Matip did okay.
He did really, really well. Midfield, Fabinho will play. Henderson will play. Because I think you need to play two holding or defensive players, whatever way you want to call it. Because I always think Liverpool's midfield balance looks best with 2 of Fabinho, Henderson, Thiago, and then a more attack-minded player against this sort of side. When you play in an Arsenal or a Chelsea or a City, our best midfield seems to be Henderson, Fabinho, Thiago. So I bring Ox in to give you that shot from distance. He's direct. He's a bit different.
Yeah.
And then the front 3 would be Jota, Bobby, and I'd put Jones left the front 3, which is where he used.
Thank you.
It's where he played in the under 23s. That's where he made a name for himself. That's where he scored his goal against Everton. So he can play that. I think his long-term future is centre mid, but in the current climate, do you know what? He just gives you something a bit different. And look, I thought he did all right against Shrewsbury. I actually thought he was one of the real bright sparks that came on and at least was driving fouls. He was just being a nuisance, but in a good way. So that's what I would do. Minamino is a bench option at best. Milner is a bench option at the moment. That's kind of how they should be. And we sort of go from there, really. VVD's form, people don't want to
say, there's a comment in the chat there. Is there a shout for VVD to be rested? He hasn't been great.
No, he hasn't been great, but I think the only way he's going to get, with that type of injury he's had, I remember Roy Keane saying it took him 12 months to feel like he was his old self again. And that, I think with Van Dijk, that's what you're seeing. It's little positional things. It's just a half yard, not too slow. It's like it's in the head, half yard not reacting because you're just not used to it. Back to back to back to back. You
with
forget,
the way
a year out, hard, isn't it?
Yeah. With the way that Brentford are going to play, is there an argument to play Joe Gomez right back?
There's an argument for it, but
I can say this because Gav's not here.
Yeah.
Gav would lose his shit altogether.
There is an argument for it, but this is a game where you're gonna have a lot of the ball, which is why if it's a side where to be a bit more defensive against, like, do you know, if it was West Ham away, he said we're playing Joe Gomez right back. I thought that makes sense because you are going to be under a bit more pressure at a West Ham away. So I think at home you've got to play more attacking players, which I think is, I think it's Trent and Tsimikas. Yeah, I think it's Trent and Tsimikas.
Yeah,
I don't think
there was lads in the comments earlier on as well asking about the possibility of. No, Steve, I haven't forgot how gas Joe Gomez is at right back. But one thing Brentford will do is they will play a lot of crossfield balls, diagonals,
which we didn't deal with
onto the far post, which we struggled with. And if you're playing a Joe Gomez, and he mops all of those up,
the big issue in the last one was Matip and Van Dijk forgot how to head a ball. Yeah. That was the big issue in the away game, which you would never think that'd be their issue because they're both pretty good for stuff like that.
Exactly.
If it's Joe Gomez, that's his biggest weakness is the ball just over his shoulder.
Yeah. Some of the comments in the chat were asking, should we look to change shape for the rest of this month until we get our normal players back? Mainly, and I agree with a lot of it because I think you've got to tailor your side to the forwards you have available.
Mm-hmm. Well, if you looked at that, that team I picked, you could go a 4-4-2 diamond quite easily. You could even probably do a flat 4-4-2 if you wanted to. Just have Jones and Ox wide and Jota and Bobby as a central two.
That's how I see it.
Or you could do a 4-3-3. It actually gives you flexibility.
This is the argument I had I said about starting Curtis over Taki the other night because he gives you that flexibility in game. If you want to tactically change it to a 4-3-3, 4-4-2 diamond, or a flat 4-4-2, it gives you those options.
Yeah, I think the reason he didn't start was he just done a full 90 against Shrewsbury. That's his first 90 since the injury, wasn't it? So I do think that was maybe a little bit of sports science protection. I saw Twitter meltdowns when Matip went off and Fabinho went off and Trent went off. Now, listen to me, Trent went off because he played shit. Matip and Fabinho for me were sports science subs, where they basically Matip could do 70, and because Fabinho had played a full 90 against Shrewsbury He's only just come back from a COVID. They've basically said in this game he can only do 70. So we could all be the smart ass and go, why did you leave Henderson on because he was playing poorly, which he was, but they've obviously, I think it's a sports science thing going, if you play Fabinho another 90, you're risking him. He's getting what they call the red zone. He's getting close to an injury, whereas Henderson hasn't played for 11 days. And I do think that's a factor, his rhythm of not training properly for a week. And we've always worried about it. Liverpool always look crap after a break of more than 7 days. They always look off it. And I think that's what it was. Look, credit to Arsenal. Look, they went really deep.
I think the red card dictated how they were going to play that game.
Do you know, in a weird way, the best thing for us would have been if it gone on a yard.
We
got a penalty and he only got a yellow card. Because actually it was against 11 men. We were dominating Arsenal and we were getting in behind them, and it did feel like it was coming.
Yeah.
There's no space in behind, because a lot of saying I actually don't think Salah and Mane were the misses in the away game. I think Thiago or Keita is the miss in that sort of a game where you need someone to, which what they're very good at, unlock a defense when it's really deep. And when he plays Thiago this season and the last 10 games of last season, we haven't lost.
Mark A was in the chat earlier there, and he was asking about the possibility of playing a 4-2-3-1 with Kay Gordon starting on the wide right.
Yeah, Sean mentioned Kate. Look, maybe that's a wild card we need. Sometimes in sort of dips in form, you need a youngster. Sometimes he's fearless, so he won't be scared about playing. And look, maybe that's something.
And if you're going to do something like that, you do it at home.
Yeah, and if Klopp says you're going to start Kay Gordon, play Jones centre mid then instead of Ox, because to me Jones is in at the start. So I don't think he's that. The other talk, Vaz Flower says Origi might be ready for the Emirates when he's already out running, which it's an option, but the month's nearly over now. We needed Origi fit 2-3 weeks. Now look, you can't help being injured. That's the way it is, but it's the wrong time to get injured, and it's happened a couple of times with not just Divock, a few others. Shaqiri was the worst for it. Like when he had a 10-game spell, we thought this is Shaqiri's time to play. He was always out with a calf injury. Lo and behold, he's in Lyon out with calf injuries, and now they don't play him anymore.
Give us a score then, and the goal scorers.
I will go 2-0 Jota and Jones.
I went 2-0 as well. I would go for 3-0 then. I definitely think we keep a clean sheet. I think we'll be well switched on for this. We'll be a lot more alive to their threats. It's the other thing as well, when you're playing against a side that you've never played before and players that you've never played before, they can surprise you with certain things that they do, but I don't expect to get those lads to get surprised again. We did dominate a large part of that game against Brentford, and we should have ran out comfortable winners on the day. We look back on that game with absolute horror, but we really snuffed a lot of chances. I go with 3-0. Bobby Brace and Henderson score one.
Cool. Can we talk about the other Liverpool game on Sunday?
Yeah, quickly. Yeah, shoot that in.
Go on, rest of the afternoon, and we'll get the women's game as well, which kicks off at the same time as the men's game, which is fucking brilliant. Talk about making it hard.
At home as well.
At home as well, yeah. Originally the men's game was supposed to be on a Saturday.
Yeah.
But because of the League Cup, they've moved it to a Sunday. And they can't do 4 o'clock because it's Super Sunday, and they can't do early on because it's Super Sunday. But it's a bit of frustration because I know people who are season tickets for both, and they've got to pick. So we've got Watford at home. Watford are second bottom. They were bottom before Coventry had their points docked.
They're a disaster.
So Watford are on 6 points and Coventry on -4. So do well at the moment. We're 5 points clear, but a couple of teams got game in hand and some games in hand. So it's going well. Look, we should be beating Watford at home. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Ironically, we've dropped all of our points at home. I think at home now we have dropped 3, 4, 5, 7 points that we've dropped at home. 1 loss and 2 draws, won the rest. We haven't dropped a point away from home. Now, I think there's a couple of things. I I think the first game, I think it was a little bit the occasion. Fans back. We need to get a big win at home. We hadn't had many wins at home the year before. And I think it was a little bit of an occasion situation. And then the other games, it was a combination of Bristol, neither side played very well. We had to play 25 minutes. We're down to 10. And then Blackburn just defended for their lives. We, for my opinion, had a goal not given, which looked miles over the line, but the officials couldn't see it. Yeah. No VAR in women's football, so it couldn't be given. So, and I do think when people come to Prenton Park, it is sit deep, hope for a play for the draw, hit them on the counter. Whereas away from home, they're a bit more open. It suits us. So, but we saw when a
still should be beating the side like, well, you have to be really picking up side wins against
the away game. Funny game. We went 3-0 up in the first half, and the game finished 3-2. Where we basically gifted that we set them up for 2 goals in the last 10 minutes, which made the last 5 minutes quite perilous. But, no, I mean, I think team wise, I think he'll go with the same side that starts against Blackburn. So if it could be Laws in goal, the back three, which have been fabulous all year, Robe, Fahy, and Matthews. 2 wing backs will be Wardlaw and Taylor Hines. Kerry Holland will play because we only play 2 in the middle, so it's a 5-2-3 we play. Kerry Holland's the key. The Welsh international, without her, we're knacked because she's just got the energy and she just knits it all together. And technically, she's a very good player. The debate's going to be who partners her, because Missy Bow started last week and she got, I think it was 3 assists, 4 assists. She gets loads of assists. But Rachel Furness gives you a little bit more physicality, and she gives you goals from midfield, and she gives you probably a bit more of a goal threat. So it's a bit of a horse for course with either or. And then the front three would be Mel Lawley, who's been outstanding, probably the best winger in the league. Jan Daniels, good hard-working winger, and then the Republicans had Leanne Kiernan, who now holds the record for the fastest hat-trick in Liverpool women's football history. I think it was 3 goals in 6 minutes.
Wow.
Which is ridiculous. If you haven't seen it, just go on the championship page. I think actually on the LFC Women's Twitter feed, just for her first goal. Her first goal is ridiculous. Top corner from the corner of the box. It's a brilliant goal.
There is a lot of talk about her as well over here, that she is on the verge of becoming a proper star for the Republic. She
was. I mean, Matt Beard had her at West Ham. And I think she just didn't get a run in the West Ham team, because of where they were. It was quite difficult. It's amazing what a goal and a run of games does for you, because she just can't stop scoring. Hannah, Rizal Babajide, they mutually agreed to terminate her contract this window. She spent the last 6 months on loan at Brighton. Brighton have agreed to terminate her loan. She's just now signed for Real Betis. So good luck to her. She's new adventure.
A lot of talent. She had a lot of talent. She was very quick, from what I remember.
Very quick. Good finish on it. It all went a bit funny. She didn't get him last January. I think she wanted to move to Brighton on loan. I think it was blocked by the club, and we didn't see her. And no one really knows why we didn't see her. And then she went to Brighton on loan for 6 months here. But unfortunately, she didn't really get much of a. I don't think she got much game time at Brighton either. So look. New challenge, new country. Hopefully that does well for her, because she's a talent, and she'll do well for she'll do well with Real Betis, because with that pace, she'll scare anyone.
And the league will suit her as well.
Yeah. Also, to be fair to her, she's not just based. She's very technically gifted football as well. So, look, I hope she does well. She was good for us the 2 years we had her. So, but so I'm going to be bold. I'm going to say 4-0. 4-0 Liverpool.
I'll to your expertise, mate, because I wouldn't have a Scooby.
Let's go. I'll go Kiernan 2, Taylor Hines, and the new striker, Katie Stangel, to get a debut goal. That's hopefully my guess.
And is that at Prenton Park?
It is at Prenton Park, yeah. So you can't get to the men's game, and it's not on telly anywhere, unless you've got
it's not.
Other ways of finding it. Just book your ticket online. I think tickets are £6. Or if you're a season ticket holder, or a fan card holder, they're free.
So if you're in the area and you want a cheap Sunday afternoon out with the kids, there you go. Great way to introduce your kids to football, and it's not going to break the bank.
You can say hello to my ugly face if you want to as well. Always good to chat to someone. So
Right, let's get
Anyway,
back to the
let's go
day
after
job.
football. City Chelsea.
Yeah, City Chelsea. Look, we said that the league this week is defining. This is defining for Chelsea's season. They have to get something in the same way as when we go there. We're going to have to get something, and if the first game is anything to go by, City looked really good against Chelsea. It was almost a case of men against boys at times.
It is.
I don't know how this is going to go now because, yeah, City are in a run of form, but they've beaten sides who they should beat, and they've done it comfortably enough, fair enough. But Chelsea aren't playing bad. And I watched them against Spurs, and I thought they were a classic Spurs. Scoreline definitely didn't reflect how dominant Chelsea were in that game.
They beat Spurs in second gear, didn't they? Which is, takes some doing. I think they were defensively. They were a bit of a mess in the first game against City. They seem to have got that organisation sorted out, and Kante coming back is a big one for them. And Kovacic is, in real good form for him. It'd be interesting which plays up front. Does he go with Werner and Lukaku, or does he go back to just one of them?
I have a feeling he goes with Havertz and Lukaku.
Yeah, I think Lukaku looks happy when they play with two, though.
And I wouldn't be surprised to see him playing a three in midfield.
Yeah.
With maybe Kante, Jorginho, and Kovacic.
Yeah, then you could do Alonso.
It's just that Mason Mount would miss out.
Yeah, possibly, but it's a good place to have off the bench anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, I had it down. I've got it down as 2-0 to City, but it's a hell of a way to start the weekend off.
I've got it down as a 1-1.
It would be nice. It would be very nice because anywhere where City slip up, we have to take advantage, obviously. But
we'll see.
This is one of those games that a draw wouldn't be the worst in the world. Even a Chelsea win wouldn't be the worst in the world. Yeah, we'd have to match it, but anything at the minute that drags City back to the pile it would be welcome. But I just think they'll have too much. But it'll be a cracker to start the weekend off. Then you're on to
Newcastle Watford.
Now
that is a 6-point game, this one.
Jesus, yeah. I mean, Newcastle have been busy. Chris Wood and Kieran Trippier.
Trippier's a good signing. Experienced at England international. Good delivery on him. Makes them a real threat now from set pieces because the set piece options now they've got Trippier, they've got John Shelvey as well. So they've got a few options. Chris Wood, that'll suit him. I mean, look, goal scoring wise, I think he's only got 3 goals this year.
Yeah,
so he's not in the best of form. But he gets.
I think he's what they need.
He is with Callum Wilson because Callum Wilson's fitness can't be trusted. Callum Wilson's finishing can never be questioned. His fitness though is the problem, and it might take a bit of pressure off St. Maximin because in a nice way, even though he's only scored 3 goals, you can't not mark Chris Wood because if he doesn't score, he could be perfect for flick-ons for St. Max. So it is what. But Watford actually aren't in bad form, despite all the players that got missing with Afcon. They've done all right. Watford actually.
They've lost their last 6 in the league.
Oh, maybe not then. They always looked all right. Every time I've watched Afcon, they always look all right.
I think they've done okay. I don't know if it just stuck out at me when I looked at this, and I looked at the run of results. I think either in their last 6 or in their last 6 in the league, I think they've lost 5 or 6.
Okay. It's funny it's funny because it's a club obviously I don't follow.
Yeah,
it's like perception.
Okay.
Yeah, perception and reality are never the same. Because I think I always see clips of what I always think they look all right, but clearly they're not. I've gone for it. I think I've got a draw for this one.
I have 2-1 Newcastle because look, Newcastle have been in most of the games that they've played, even the ones they've lost.
They're not getting battered. They're very rarely getting battered. They're keeping it tight, which is a good thing because I know it sounds horrible, but if you're going to get beat, don't get beat by a lot because goal differences it could be a big factor.
Could be a thing.
It generally is in the relegation battles, but I've just got a feeling for a 1-1. I don't know why. I just got a feeling for a 1-1. But
yeah, I think there's with the changes that they've made, it'd be interesting to see how they line up because I was thinking if he decides to play Wood through the middle and play Almiron on one side of him and say Maximin on the other side of him,
as Steve
it would
points
be
out,
interesting.
Cambridge have beaten as many Premier League sides as Newcastle. It's very true. I must admit, Burnley have only got 1 win all season, and I don't think Watford haven't got many more. So
I mean, it's for some of the players that they have available.
What's been helping Burnley is they've got like 15 games in hand as well. Yeah. But they get lots of draws. Burnley aren't getting beat very often, whereas Newcastle, it's one win and a hell of a lot of defeats. They weren't really getting many draws either, which I think is what's killed them.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be definitely one to watch because it's massive in a relegation battle. It really is. The other one down in the bottom reaches of the league, Norwich against Everton. No, I think Norwich are gone.
I think they are.
I think Norwich and Watford. Personally, I think Norwich and Watford are gone. But Everton have players coming back. Calvert-Lewin should be available. Richarlison might be there.
El Ghazi should be. Is El Ghazi registered?
El Ghazi's available because, well, I think he's signed in time.
Gives him a pace option, doesn't it?
Yeah, and I'm sure he played for Villa recently, so he should be fit. So,
I mean, maybe for them, if you play Calvert-Lewin through the middle and you play Gray and El Ghazi as your wide ones, that at least makes Everton more of a threat pace-wise, because then the focus can't all be on Damari Gray.
Yeah, Rafa needs a result here, doesn't he?
He does. See, logically, we just think Everton win because Norwich is just ridiculous, but Everton is such a poor confidence-wise. I just don't know what they're going to do.
That's it. It's one of those games. I definitely wouldn't be putting it in my my accumulators for the weekend. But
as always, Laura Duffy has the facts. So Newcastle 1 win, 8 draws, 10 losses. Watford 4 wins, 1 draw, 13 losses.
Yeah,
and Burnley 1 win, 8 draws, 8 losses.
It's mad, isn't it? I mean, Watford were okay at the start of the season, but I honestly think Ranieri's in trouble as well. The Watford managers is the worst merry-go-round you'll ever see in football. And I think that Watford will bin him off. Maybe at the end of the window, maybe before. But I think Watford bin him off.
Yeah, shock horror. Watford sack a manager.
Yeah, exactly. And water is wet.
What score have you got for this one?
I got 3-1 Everton. Because I think if Calvert-Lewin comes back, he gives them that goal threat. They have goals in the side. It's just a case of translating that onto the pitch, and they've been short of players for a long time. So
I've got 2-1.
2-1
Everton, sorry.
2-1 Everton. Right.
I mean, could you ever predict an Norwich win? Really?
Quickly skim over this one. Wolves Southampton.
2-0 Wolves.
I got 1-1. Look, Wolves don't concede many. They don't score many. They're safe as houses where they are. They're not going to get into Europe. They're not getting relegated. They're meandering along in another season. And you're going to have to look at, in the summer, the players who are there who are saleable players. The likes of your Ruben Neves.
I'd love
Pedro Neto.
Yeah, I'd love Neves. Liverpool just a bit different.
Yeah.
Our other shout, which we're going to talk about a bit later, is if we get time, me and Kev are going to do a bit of fun of don't all fall over. Imagine we had 200 million. Who would you buy? Who could we buy? And we're going to try and do a bit of a players available then, Trevor. So we're not going to sign Mbappe and Haaland because look, we'll try and make it realistic, as in if you had like that budget. But to research, there's quite a range of players available of good quality, and they're not all £80 million players, are they? No, which is interesting. One of them being James Ward-Prowse, who I must admit, Southampton did well to sign to a new contract because I think he could be a decent squad option for a higher.
I think Southampton signed him to that contract in order to protect value. I think there's probably a release clause for top four clubs in that.
Because if you said to me, we signed James Ward-Prowse, that's kind of your Milner replacement. As in, he could play anywhere in the midfield, and you know what? He probably could do a job at right back, and he's got really good delivery, which again gives you another option, Yeah. And look,
Glenn, I'm sorry, mate. You need more than 200 for those three, mate.
Bellingham, Basuma, Diaz. Yeah. Then again, I think
that's about 220, 230.
Yeah, I think so at least. Yeah.
Yeah, minimum. But look, we'll get to that in a bit. Have a think on it, guys. Villa Man United. Villa Man United. Now, apparently Coutinho isn't fit enough to start.
Oh, shock horror.
Wow. fair. Look, common sense would have told you he wasn't going to be fit to start this one. It depends on the type of training that they're doing in Spain, but Villa will want him to be in some kind of tactical shape as well as physical shape as to what they want him to do. So they'll ease him in. They're not going to throw him in straight away. But
Laura says, is it a back issue again? Possibly.
I think the Rolls-X will be out for that one.
Yeah, I'll be honest. Look, he's still a very, very talented player, but let's be honest, Kev, he's not been fit properly now for over 2 years.
Yeah, he hasn't.
Too many.
I think it's a really big gamble.
Yeah. I mean, I actually think it's a worthwhile gamble for Villa because it's only a loan.
Yeah.
Is there an option to buy?
It's an option at 33 million.
Yeah, which again,
if it works,
it's not a ridiculous fee either, to be honest, for what he is. So I don't think that's too bad a deal for Villa. If it doesn't work,
this is the 5:30 game, and for all of the huff and puff from Gerrard at Villa, they've won 2 in their last 6 in the league. And they're playing well, but I thought that he would have been fuming.
They should have got at least a point against Chelsea, and they should have beaten United at Old Trafford.
Yeah,
and you think with Watkins and Ings, he should be. Yeah, the chances they're missing.
I don't think
you should be scoring.
I don't think you can play the 2.
Possibly not.
I think it's one or t'other.
And then Man United in that FA Cup game, you saw the best and worst of Man United, which is look, going forward, United will always be a threat. They've got goals in them. They've got players who can threaten. They've got pace. But defensively, they're absolutely shambolic.
Yeah.
That Fred and McTominay don't really protect the back four because they're too wide open. Tellez isn't good enough compared to Luke Shaw. And then the 2 centre backs that were played, Lindelof and Varane. You said that they're like number 2 centre backs, the best with a dominant person next to them.
Well, Maguire is fit and available, so
like I said, they need a dominant centre back next to him. I still think when he's fit, their best defender is Eric Bailly. Mm-hmm. But again, he has the Joel Matip about him, which is he's never fit. But he's a very good. But he's a very, very good centre back. And look, De Gea, to be fair to him, De Gea's been probably their best player this year.
Yes, and that's not uncommon when he's had a really good season. They've tended to qualify for the Champions League and have a decent season on the back of him being exceptionally good.
Yeah, I don't think he's at the level he was 3 or 4 years ago when he was like superhuman. I mean, the level he was at was just outrageous.
Well, he was up in the top 2 or 3 in the world.
Yeah, but he's still like top tier keeper. It still takes a lot to beat it. So for the United, thank God they have him because otherwise they'd be in real trouble.
Yeah, the guys on the chat say United are a mess and United look shambolic and this and that. 4 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss in the league in the last 6.
They are, but again, this is like the City run.
It's perception, isn't it?
It's perception, but also it's they sacked Solskjaer at the perfect time. They got Chelsea and City out the way, and they give him a run of games where you go, there's confidence. The likes of playing the Palaces and that, the size they should be, which gives you confidence, allows you to get away with kinks in your system. So I think Villa's going to be more of a test for them. And then
I've got Villa down to win 3-1.
I've got
saying all of that and about all the form and everything like that. I think Villa would have learned an awful lot from that game at Old Trafford. They were by far the better side.
I'm not saying he's Klopp, but we saw when Klopp put a new system into Liverpool, it took months to get it right.
Yeah.
And when to press, when not to press, when to push up, when not to push up. And we're seeing that this season is we are trying to evolve a little bit how we play. We are trying to play more of a 2 and a bit more of an attacking third. Now, personnel is partly causing the problem, but that is then leaving us too much open for the switch.
Yeah.
But this is evolving as a formation.
As time goes on. And the thing is that
when it works, it looks really well.
Yeah, that system is great when the right personnel are available. But when it's not, it's square pegs and round holes for us.
Which is where you and me both agree that's where the frustration is with perhaps some of the transfer dealings is we've got very good players. I think we've got very good midfield players. We haven't got reliable attendance records. And I think that's always been a bit of an issue. And that's probably what we need to look for. So that's why people want Basuma. Partly because he's an excellent player. He is an excellent player, but he doesn't miss many games.
Exactly.
That's
it.
why the Tielemans link's been quite good because he doesn't miss as many games. The only thing with Tielemans I worry about is he's played a lot. He's 25, but he's played a lot of football at his age.
Yeah, yes.
And sometimes you wonder if there's too many miles on the clock long term, especially the way Klopp wants you to play. Which is why Basuma is a better option.
Maybe. I think Tielemans is probably better in the attacking third. I think his passing ranges are better. Basuma is just gets across the pitch, man. He just gets across the pitch. It looks effortless for him. He's very Kante-like in that respect. Very aggressive in that respect as well.
I'm on Fierce Pilsner, Dave Lennon. That's me drink at the moment. I got a Beercraft thing for Christmas, so I'm starting to work my way through them. So very nice. Some nice weird beers. It's good. Cool.
Quickly move on to Sunday.
West Ham Leeds.
Well, yeah, West Ham Leeds. Two clubs that I don't really like. So
3-1 West Ham.
Yeah.
I just think Leeds got too many missing. Form's not great.
Apparently Struck and Brentford should be available. So, and they need them, but I still don't think it's enough. I think West Ham are...
Not at West Ham, no. And look, they've got to, hopefully for them, they've got Bamford back right this time because they brought him back last time. He scores an equaliser, slides to celebrate and pulls it up, and his hamstring went again.
Yeah.
Which is, so that's risk of his muscle, and you've got to make sure they're about. Spurs Arsenal, if it happens.
If it happens, I think it'll be an absolute bore fest. I think it'll be a horrible game to watch. I think Spurs beat them purely on the strength of who's available, but Conte is turning Spurs into an awful watch. They are.
And he's already moaning. This will get Spurs fans. Isn't he already moaning now about lack of transfer business?
Yeah, I mean, did you not read the memo when you were signing for Daniel Levy? It's like Daniel Levy will tell you everything you want to hear until you sign on the dotted line, and then when you sign on the dotted line, it's about that. Yeah, you still signed a contract, so be quiet.
Yeah, I've gone 2-2 because I think I've read this is one of the most high-scoring derbies. I actually enjoy watching the Northern derby because it's always a mental game.
It can be.
Form. Yeah. That's what form box. It's normally a ridiculous game where you go like both sides. I think it feels like a game where the managers don't have much influence because they all go, "Fuck it, we're going for it," and we're just going to go toe to toe, which actually makes it a good game. It makes it a really good watch for a neutral. If you're an Arsenal fan or a Spurs fan, I mean, Arsenal and Wenger it was nice, but modern now, it's probably horrible to watch because it's such a ding dong. It's like a basketball game.
A few stories coming out of Spurs as well. Apparently, and Ndombele has been told to train on his own.
Doesn't surprise me because,
but I don't think it's a train on your own that you're being punished. It's a train on your own because you're not flaming fit. Which at this stage of the season, that's shocking.
That's two managers said that. I mean, when Mourinho broke COVID protocol to take Ndombele to the park to help him with his fitness.
I mean, what the hell is going on with that guy? 60-odd million quid they paid.
Yeah. So there's that.
All the talent in the world, man. All the talent in the world.
Eric Dyer, he's out with COVID, I believe.
Crikey.
So
I mean,
Owen Burke's
the other one as well. Apparently, Neres moved to Shakhtar Donetsk from Ajax is confirmed. It's gone through 12 million, rising to 15, but that frees up the way for.
He was brilliant, wasn't he, for that ACL? He's never quite got back to that level since that ACL, which is a shame because he was linked to a few Premier League clubs, and you looked and thought that looks a good, the next thing you want to get, but he's never quite got back to his level. I mean, Shakhtar, if he's going to get back to his level, is a good option.
Good move.
It's a club that wins leagues. It's a regular Champions League side, so it gets you the exposure that you need. So if you show your form in the one season of the Champions League, that'll probably get you your move. So, and if it doesn't, it's a good side to play for anyway.
The other side of that is Ajax could potentially make a move for Bergwijn or possibly Donny van de Beek. I think Ajax will go try and bring him back with on loan with an option.
Because there was thought that Van de Beek's been offered on loan to Newcastle. That was another.
I'd be surprised. I think
which does make me laugh because that's true. You're like, why didn't you loan to Everton then in the beginning of the season? because they blocked his move to Everton because they don't play him. So
no.
Owen Burke's asking about the NFL playoffs this weekend. I think you've done some research on that.
Yeah, I did. I just did a quick. I'll just quickly say it now. The playoffs. We're gonna try and get Phil Casey on. Hopefully before the end of the NFL season to chat about it. But we'll get Gav
to ask him nicely for.
Yeah, 6 games coming up over between tomorrow night and Tuesday night. They're all on Sky, as far as I know. You got the Raiders at the Bengals. You got the Bills at the Patriots. Buccaneers at the Eagles. Cowboys at the 49ers. Chiefs. The Pittsburgh Steelers. You got the LA Rams against the Arizona Cardinals. 3 of those games I think will be really tight. The Buffalo Bills and the New England Patriots. I was talking to my dad. He lives in Connecticut in the week, and he was telling me that with the wind chill that they're expecting tomorrow in Connecticut is minus 25 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, they won't do it.
Right?
They just cancel the game in England, won't they?
It's standing air temperature is a high tomorrow of -2, dropping to a -14 without the wind chill.
I tell you, if you're a fan going to that fair play tickets,
if you're going to,
you won't catch me anywhere near
Foxborough. I don't know where they play now. I think it's the same area, but it's a new stadium. It used to be called Foxborough. If you're going to Foxborough to watch that, and the thing is, it's in America, it's a local-ish derby between Buffalo and New England. It's not Buffalo. It's not the Patriots against the New York side, but Buffalo is in upstate New York, so it's as close as you're going to get. The other one, Dallas Cowboys and the San Francisco 49ers, I mean, 2 real traditional powerhouses of the NFL. 2 illustrious sides, 2 massive sides. That one will be really close. Well, home field advantage, I think, will play a lot in these games. I don't know how it'll go, to be honest. I haven't watched enough of it this season to say how it'll go, but I think that'll be close. And then the LA Rams and Arizona Cardinals, again, as close to... Oh, it's in Buffalo, Laura, is it? Okay, I thought it was in Massachusetts. I must have written them down. I wrote them all down the other way around then. But even still, Laura, Buffalo is as cold as. Serious. The Rams and Cardinals, now the Cardinals are in Arizona. It's another one. The 2 sides are pretty close together, so we'll see how those ones go. I mean, the Chiefs should beat the Steelers fairly handy, and I'd imagine the Tampa Bay Buccaneers should beat the Philly Eagles, but the Eagles, you never know. They get themselves, when it comes to the playoffs, they can be a different side. But those are the games. They're all live on Sky, and they'll be interesting. It's down to the business end of the season now, so I think a lot more people will start tuning in. And I mean, I know I will. I'll start watching a lot more NFL now for between now and the end of the season. It's just the regular season. I can't get so much football and everything going on. Can't watch it all. You know, I'll get divorced. I'd end up with a divorce, man. Delwyn, WWE. Is it Royal Rumble coming up? Is it this weekend?
No, I think it's end of the month. I think
end of the month. I don't watch it anymore, though. I stopped watching it about 2 years ago, and
it's a great laugh.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, I've watched it for so long, you know, and I've seen all the storylines. I've seen all the heel turns. I've seen.
Yeah, it's hard to see. So after a while, you can only tell the same story so many times. So it's hard to do something new sometimes. So, but we'll see. I mean, hopefully, we're going to try and have Callum on next week, aren't we? To talk UFC,
well, there's big UFC coming up. Callum is into pretty much anything combat sport related.
So
I'm sure we'll probably talk about Amir Khan and Kell Brook as well.
Oh God!
I know, but
is that a thing again? Oh God!
I think the fight is signed for February, as far as I know. It might be. Yeah, I think it is February, but it's one of those things that I wish it happened 5 years ago.
A lot of fights like that in boxing.
Yeah,
I won't be paying.
Frustrates me with boxing, man.
I won't be paying for it. If I can find a way of watching it without paying for it,
I think I'll be in the same boat. I'll be in the same boat. Barry was asking about the GA when we start covering again. I mean, all that's going on. All that's going on about in the minute in the GA is you've got things. it's almost like the pre-season cups before the National League starts, and the National League would be your build-up stuff to the Championship. But all you've got at the minute is things like the McGrath Cup, and I mean, I think this weekend, I think Cork are playing against UCC, the University of Cork. You've got, I mean, last weekend, I'm pretty sure I saw it that Kerry beat Tipperary in hurling. Now, Kerry would be a powerhouse, traditional powerhouse in football. They've seen a picture of a hurley once, about 5 years ago. They didn't like the look of it. So they left it alone, kind of thing. But apparently, Kerry beat Tipperary, which are a traditional Big Four hurling county. And they're playing Limerick, I think, coming up very soon. So, but that's all. This is all it's almost like the pre-season stuff before you get into the National League, and then it starts to get a bit spicy from there. So when it gets into the National League, I think we'll start looking at it a bit more. The thing is, what we really need it is when it starts to come on Sky and come on UK TV. So the people who are in the chat who aren't from Ireland, if they're in the UK, we can hopefully encourage them to watch games that are coming up on Sky, and they're usually on at a good time on a Saturday evening if there's no live football on. During the summer, it's a great way to get into the sport, and it's mental. But I'm looking forward to it. I love it when it starts. But we're a good way away from that. The other things that's going on, the Australian Open is starting on Monday. Odds are, by the looks of it now, it'll be minus Novak Djokovic. It started off at the beginning of the week where he won his court case and it looked like everything was going to be okay. But from listening to Australians on phone-in shows who are living out there, they ain't happy. And the immigration minister has discretionary power about who he, if he can, and he can flex it and use it whenever he wants. And today he decided to use that discretionary power to revoke his visa. There's going to be a court case over the weekend in whether it's an immigration court or a Supreme Court or something in Melbourne, and ultimately be decided. But I think once the minister decides to use a discretionary power, which is in his discretion, that's pretty much it. It's done and dusted. And apparently Novak Djokovic is being investigated by the Spanish government for potentially entering the country on iffy paperwork in December. So it's not really
not looking good.
It's not really looking. There's a lot more at play here than what's going on in a tennis tournament, and it's not. This has gone way beyond Novak Djokovic. Now you're in a position where you've got a government in Australia basically ignoring their own rules and their own courts, because it's what Djokovic has won is a really, really, really unpopular decision, very unpopular with the public, and they're going to do it on a public health grounds. Look, it's up to them. It's their rules. It's their country. I'm not going to tell them, if they're right or wrong or indifferent. It doesn't matter to me. I don't watch the Australian Open as a rule anyway. So the other thing that's going on down there at the minute is the last test match. Woohoo!
Oh, it started so well.
The Ashes is almost over. It never did. It never started well. What are you talking about?
No, the
first test today did, yeah. 12
That's what I meant. It's 12 for 3, 84 for 4. You thought, fucking hell, they might actually do something. Yeah, 236 for 6. Two lads got 100.
241 for 6.
Yeah, it's just England all over that at the moment.
Yeah.
I mean, to be fair to the bowlers, even getting Australia 241 for 6, it's not actually a bad first day. You just know that batting lineup's so fragile that...
Yeah. And I don't know what the pitch is like. I know where they're playing. This match was due to be played in Perth, which would have been a fast, bouncy, the fastest pitch in the world.
Which wouldn't have suited England at all.
No. But it would have suited... Actually, do you know what? It would have suited Broad because of his height.
I meant the batsman.
It would have suited Mark Wood.
I meant the batsman.
Yeah, the
batsman. It just... yeah, so... The problem with England is they're in a state of flux because they've just had all their great players retire, and they've now got a couple of very good, potentially world class players in Root and Stokes, and then the rest just aren't quite as well. Bairstow and wicket keeper, what's his name?
Josh Butler.
Have the ability and can be very good, but Josh Butler's form for 18 months in Test cricket has been poor. And
I just don't think he's a Test player.
Yeah,
I think he plays Test cricket because he has to almost.
But I think if England had a better top three, I think it would work for Butler then, because he's coming in then at number 6 or 7, and he's literally there to destroy. He's not Gilchrist, but that's what Gilchrist was there for, which is open the batting for one-day sides, but for Test sides, he just came at number 7, and basically his job was get a 50 or get a 60 quick to give us the lead. That's what Matt Pryor was fabulous at. That's what he was there for. The problem with Josh Butler is he's woefully out of form, and to me should have been dropped a year ago. Because some players, it'll do them good, just missing out for a couple of weeks. Because remember, cricketers, they probably get like a month off a year, if that. Or traveling. There is a mental tiredness, and I think actually would have done him some good.
Yeah, it can't be easy for them because they're living in a bubble. It's not like your traditional tour that's going to Australia where you can enjoy the life of Australia while you're there. You're there for 3 months. Do you know what I mean? You're there in November, December, January. It's a long tour.
But also, if to be honest, it's not even the COVID thing, because you speak to the lads, even the lads who won it in 2010, 2011, they said it's not nice being in Australia as an England cricketer, because they all hate you. Yeah. And they'll tell you to your face that they hate you.
But at least you can get out and you can do stuff.
Yeah. So
these guys are literally tied to a hotel.
Yeah. The thing with England, England have never quite got the balance right where, like 2010, 2011, fabulous Test side, number 1 in the Test world. One-day cricket wasn't great.
Yeah.
They've now actually got very good at one-day cricket, though. They've won the World Cup. They won the T20 World Cup a few years back. So they look like a very scary one-day side. People don't want to face them one-day cricket. But then it's cost the Test team, because the Test team aren't quite. They never quite get the balance right where they can get both forms. And maybe
it's going to be a wider discussion that we're definitely going to have when this, because the next tour that they go straight from here. What's happening? I think next week the under-19 ICC World Cup starts in the West Indies.
Mm-hmm. The women start in Australia soon as well.
Yeah, the women's Test series starts in Australia. Apparently, that could be in doubt because of COVID issues. Don't know what's going on there. But then England goes straight on to the West Indies to play a tour there. And by the time they finish up, I think it's towards April time by the time they return to England. Just in time for the county season to start. You know what I mean?
What England have got to do, they've got to try and find themselves a top 3 that they can work with and settle on. They haven't settled on a top 3 because I think Zach Crawley's the only one who's really shown he can do so. Burns, occasionally, the young lad, Hamid, he's very young, hasn't really worked for him. And there was another lad they had top of the order, he just looks very awkward and it didn't work for him. So they've got to decide on the top 3. They can't keep them Joe Root come in when they're like 3 down for 40 because it's not helping. They've got to manage Ben Stokes because he's just getting injuries now. You've got to manage him a little bit. They need to find a spinner. It's an indictment on England that Joe Root's your spinner. There's nothing. Don't get me wrong. Joe Root's a decent spinner, but he shouldn't be your opening spinner. And I feel sorry for. We did have a leg spinner. He did well. He did all right in Sri Lanka. Is it Best?
Don Best.
Yeah, he's okay. He's not fab. He's not. He's probably more. He's probably closer to an Ashley Giles than he is to a Graham Swan in terms of polarizing.
He doesn't turn his feet. He turns it enough.
Yeah. So
I think. Look, I'll just say this. I watched the night that England lost the Ashes, and they did a thing on BT Sport with. They had Harmison and Cook, and I think one other in the studio, and they literally just said it as it was. What's wrong with county cricket? And the problem is you haven't got a county system that's producing Test match level players.
No,
you haven't. You've got 18 counties playing in probably 25 grounds across the country in oddball weather, to say the least. You don't have good enough pitches, and you don't have a good enough quality of bowler to produce the type of batsmen that are needed to play away in Test series in India, Pakistan, in Australia, and New Zealand, because
they needed
you're not in if you're playing the volume of county cricket, T20, one day cricket, hundreds, whatever other formats they've got going on. You're not going to develop 90-mile-an-hour bowlers. And when you do, you look in the comments there, bonkers. Jofra Archer is what you get. Jofra Archer is a fantastic talent who's been ruined by volume of cricket.
Yeah. I mean, Ollie Robinson's the same. It's been fitness things with him. Mark Wood, you know, they have to manage his fitness. But England are generally quite good at finding fast bowlers. They normally have 7 because they have to manage their injuries. But you know, you're still relying on James Anderson and Stuart Broad because they're both world class bowlers. But
I remember when Jimmy Anderson came into Test cricket, right,
with his red streak in his hair.
Yeah, but he was bowling at 93, 94 mile an hour. Swinging it. Now, even when he's at his absolute best, he was 82, 83 mile an hour, but pinpoint accurate. You know, that's what he figured out his craft, but he got slower doing it. You know, England haven't had a proper fast bowler since Simon Jones, Steve Harmison, Mark Wood, but not enough.
You can't do it consistent. Yeah, but when they won it in 2010, 2011, they got horses for courses bowlers, didn't they? They had Steve Finn, who was
6'8",
fast but expensive.
Yeah,
top wicket taker in the Test series, and they dropped him. And they brought in Tim Bresnan, wasn't as quick, but had a bit more craft about him. And who's the other tall lad they brought in? Because Broad did his side, and he missed most of the tour. Tremlett. They brought Tremlett in.
Chris Tremlett, yeah.
Now, Chris Tremlett was not seen as England standard. He wasn't quick. He didn't quite work, but what he could do in Australia was he could get the height, and he could basically make batsmen panic. And the English don't have enough people that are going to scare you. That's the problem.
You know, the tour in the West Indies for a lot of these players make a break, especially for the coach. Yeah, but we'll wait and see. I mean, F1 is coming soon. Another month or so, and testing starts for the new car. Can't wait, but we'll leave that alone for now.
I'll get me pillow when you start talking about it.
Can't wait, rub it. But yeah, look, I mean, there is bucket loads of sport going on this weekend. I mean, we'll quickly go back to the Premier League a sec, because
good games on Tuesday and Wednesday, isn't there?
That's it. Yeah, it's like, where did I put them?
Burnley, Watford, another 6 points. I mean, Watford potentially.
Well, yeah, you got
the next 2 games could see Watford safe.
They could
not safe, but give them a cushion.
They could really be in trouble. Yeah, you Burnley, Watford, you Brighton, Chelsea. I don't know which of these games are televised, by the way. I assume there's one at least. Yeah,
Red F1 is testing Chris already. More than you will know, Steve. More than you will ever know. Oh.
Leicester Spurs is a big one.
I think Brighton Chelsea was probably the televised game. Well, actually, I think it'll be a good game. I fancy Chelsea 1-0 because Brighton just don't score enough.
Watch Brighton tonight, man. Did any of you guys in the chat watch the Brighton game tonight?
I didn't see it. I saw the score. I saw the penalty save.
It was a great game.
I must admit.
It was a great game.
That's when you look at it and you keep a safe the penalty and can see it straight from the corner. You're like,
do you know what? Jack Butland played really, really well.
He has the ability to be a good keeper. He doesn't. He has too many big lapses in concentration, which is what always cost him. So it cost him at Stoke, which is why they went down. Which is probably why not many Premier League clubs have touched him. Ability-wise, he has it. It's the concentration is a big factor with keepers. So
yeah, there was 2 major VAR decisions as well. I just want to ask in the chat: do you think they got it right? Do you think they got the VAR? Because Chris didn't watch it. Do you guys think they got the VAR decisions right? Because there was one for a penalty where I would like seeing him given. You know, the one where it was a corner and the defender was all over the attacking player and he pulled him down. It was almost like a headlock. And he went over and checked it and gave the pen. The other one was a shot. A shot on the keeper, The keeper got two hands on the ball, but as he was completing his dive, or as he literally within a fraction of a second, the Brighton striker came in with his foot not high. He put his foot out the way and caught his thigh on the ball, and the ball went in. But because he had two hands on the ball, they disallowed the goal.
I think you got two hands. They class that as control, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, as we saw with the Schmeichel one against Villa, if you got one hand on the ball now, it's controlled.
I think they were both. I think they were both right. I think it was VAR working how VAR said. The ref went over and checked it. They were both right, but I want to see consistency with that one, the first one, the penalty, where you've got defenders. They're not defending. They're literally just mauling the attacking players and rugby tackling them and pulling them around all over the place. I want to see consistency on that. I want to see penalties given for that. And if we suffer for it, then so be it. It just means you're not defending properly, But I want to see more goals in football and more goals from set pieces. And a lot of the reason why we're not getting it is defenders are just mauling attacking players or blocking them off or whatever way you want to put it. And we saw it in the World Cup in Russia when they put a clamp down on grabbing and holding. It stopped. By about the second or third game, it stopped, and you saw a lot more goals from set pieces. Because if you win a corner, it's supposed to be to your advantage. Now, with us especially, it feels like you win a corner, it's like, for fuck's sake. We'll never score from this.
That's because keep hitting the first man. But the other thing is, and they'll never admit this, it's how it's portrayed in the media as well. If that's given, they always go, oh, come on, you give that, you're going to give 15 of them every game. Even though it's the rule of the game, they get lambasted for it. Or if a player is headlocked and goes down, he's gone down too easy. Just got to be stronger there.
Yeah. Barry's right, by the way. Skirtle would have given away a pen every game. He would have, Barry, but I tell you what, he'd have been sold a lot quicker because he couldn't defend set pieces for Toffee.
But you'd also stop it a lot quicker because if you're giving a set piece away, if you're giving a penalty away every time, they soon stop it. David Lynn's asking a question for me. What sport do you prefer, F1 or golf? F1. Just golf doesn't do it for me. That shows how low I see it. That's how low I find it. So.
Have you been watching much of the Afcon, mate?
I've been watching bits of the highlights because when the games are on, I'm in work. The thing that annoys me with it is the highlights are 3-minute highlight packages on Sky Sports YouTube channel. I was expecting it. This is not, it's a big tournament. This, when we had the Copa America, there was a highlights package. If it's the Euro, there's like a half-hour highlight show which just shows you key incidents and as a bit of a chat about. You're telling me with all the rights they've got to the BBC and Sky, they can't do a half-hour package, which, to be honest, because a lot of people are going to miss the games because they're during when people are at work.
During working day, yeah.
So having a highlights package, say at 9, 11 o'clock, well, even if it's 11 o'clock at night, you'll watch it. I mean, there's not not too many goals, so you probably can show it all through. You probably can, but you can still talk about the players. You can talk about who's the ones to look out for, who's disappointed. I mean, apart from Cameroon, I think Cameroon's the only side to score more than 2 in a game.
Yeah. Abubakar is top scorer so far with 4. And at the start of the tournament, he was 11-2 to be top scorer for the tournament.
Most of it, though, apart from Cameroon, who obviously won 2 from 2.
Is anyone really Senegal or look? I mean, they
struggle tonight. So they're second in their group now in goal difference, aren't they? Yeah. Egypt were disappointing against Nigeria. Nigeria played well, but Egypt. I
thought Nigeria were the better side. I fancied Nigeria to beat them anyway.
I think on paper you would expect Egypt to win. On the day, Nigeria the better side.
I think Egypt are a pure one-man side. Salah is far and away head and shoulders above everything else. When you've got the likes, there's a centre back that plays for him, and he's our main centre back. He was at West Brom. Is it El Ghazi?
Yeah.
Not El Ghazi, but I can't remember his name now. But he's playing now in the Saudi league, and they're bog standard. Keith's shout at the start of the tournament is looking good. Morocco.
Who's Keith? Yeah.
Keith went for Morocco because they're very, very defensively sound, and they're decent. They've got some decent players.
I was born. I went for Senegal.
I fancied Senegal, but you know what? I've watched them. They ain't great.
No, they haven't been. No.
You know,
So,
but
but
in fairness, throughout the tournament, there's no one is setting the world alight there. You know,
I always think with these tournaments, though, any sort of international tournament, the knockouts is when the fun happens. But I mean, I think Egypt obviously have lost their first game. I think people get excited that we might see some of our lads come on early. They won't be, because as long as they finish third, they're in the knockouts.
well,
And Egypt, Guinea, and none of them are finishing fourth in their groups. So
no,
you're not seeing that. You're not seeing the lads still begin the Feb. Which, that's it. They
and I
might be
think
back for
by the
Cardiff,
time
but
they,
maybe not.
I think even by the time they come back, look, I don't expect them to come back and start straight away. I expect them to be fed back in.
Yeah, I think so.
No matter what situation that we're in, they're playing a lot of games, and a lot of high pressure games.
But nice away. I mean, look, Cardiff have a good away record in the championship.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
They're shocking at home, but they're good away. But I would still expect a Liverpool, even without Salah, Mane, and Keita, Liverpool should be able to put aside that should be beating Cardiff. And if you're not, that's a question of that's a question of the manager, that's a question of the players' attitudes.
Big time.
You don't need to talk about transfers and all that. They are physically better. They are better. It's all about mindset.
Ahmed Higazi, that's who he is.
Yeah, if your mindset's right, you should be beating Cardiff. I'm not saying
it's not all three that go through in the groups, by the way. It's the
is it the best third place? Is it something like that?
The two best third place
I thought it was
sides, and the rest of the groups is the top two.
Yeah, I mean, one of the best parts has been the ref blowing off 5 minutes early. I mean, that was just.
Have you ever seen anything like it?
Yeah,
I think even in schools football, I think you'd struggle to see anything like that, because it wasn't just that one. It wasn't the one where he blew it up the first time. It was the fact that he sent someone off. So I had a VAR check in that time, sent someone off, and they blew it up a second time before 90 minutes.
And then one of the teams came back out, and the other team went, "Oh, we're not going back out. This is nonsense. We'll just."
Yeah, they were in the ice baths or something.
Yeah, you've got the win. Yeah, Stu Max saying, "Did I hear the Arsenal fans are trying to call the North London Derby?" We did. We covered that.
Yeah, we talked about that at the start.
Yeah.
I don't know if anything has happened since we've been on air.
I'm not seeing anything. No, someone's tweeted or remarked on it.
Apparently, Naby played well today. Look, Naby's a good player. It's just
he's not consistent enough. That's the problem.
It's getting him on the pitch, and it's the one thing this season, I suppose, that can't be leveled at him. He more often than not, he has been available. He's just not been picked.
Yeah,
same with Ox. Ox has been available pretty much all season. He just hasn't been picked.
He missed one game for kicking the floor, and then he's picked up a couple of hamstring. But again, this goes back to the manager chat. Then he's got these lads, but he doesn't play them. So does he not trust them? And if he doesn't trust them, then
why are they there?
Why are you there? Look, I'm not getting into owners and all that, but this is where you've got to label questions at Klopp and Edwards going, you've got the lads, you're not using them. If you're not using them, sell them, move them on. Why are you keeping them? That is where I see some people have the loyalty argument with Klopp, and you're going, maybe there is a loyalty argument, but I mean, Shawnee pointed out at 2:00, well, if he's loyal to them, play them.
Yeah.
And he's had opportunities to play them, and he hasn't. Now, look, there have been chances where he started Chamberlain, in the League Cup against Norwich, and he stuck the gaff out, so he had a bad game.
I love Stu Mack's comment.
That's the problem, though.
Stu Mack's comment is the best comment of the night.
Let's put it up. Go on, you read it out.
I had under 2.5 goals for the Mali Tunisia games, a red card, 2 subs, a VAR check, and blows it up 10 seconds before full time. Legend in my eyes. Yeah. Absolute quality.
Oh, see, John's asking who we're buying for 200 million. But to be honest, it's 11:30. So,
well, let's just do it quickly. We'll just do it quickly, right? So we get to the summer. We don't do anything now in this window, okay? We get to the summer. We know James Milner is going.
Who knew?
I know. We know James Milner is going in the summer. We know Nico Williams is going in the summer because he's made noises. Adrian is going. All right. Now,
Phillips will be gone.
Phillips will probably be gone as well. But I don't think any of those 4 are 4 players that you look at and think, okay, I don't need superstars to replace these players. You know, so
the only thing I would say is Nico and Phillips are 2 year homegrown quota. So you've got to replace them for the homegrown. And Milner. Now, Curtis is classed as homegrown this year because he's of an age now where he's not classed as under 23. So that's one, but you've still got two to replace in Milner and say Phillips. Now, I mean, should we let this how much prep me and Kev did? Kev does loads. I don't do very much. So I sent Kev a bit of stuff, and I basically sent to him. I picked a random keeper, and I think I picked McCarthy from Southampton because he's on a free. I went, he'll do for third choice because they never play. Or the other option is Sam Johnston from West Brom, who you can make second choice and give Kelleher a loan, but you don't lose the homegrown quota. I think I basically then said to you, any bum you want for right back, and I said, and if you want to replace Phillips, that Scottish lad that we've been linked with. Because basically my answer was, they're all boring. I didn't want to talk about the exciting positions, which I think is actually what Klopp and Edwards do. I think just look and go, I'm not asked about that.
Yeah,
let's go.
I think they got to last January. He'll do. That's fine. Let's just get on.
Who cares about centre backs? It's all fun to where we can't.
Yeah.
So go on. Who do you have? Because you obviously did a lot more research for those positions than I did.
I didn't. I mean, I was looking back and I was thinking, what do we want him to do? All right. Now, if Klopp is going to evolve this 4-3-3, all right, and yeah, Laura's asking there about Pataluga's third choice. I think what we were trying to do was sneak in a homegrown quota player.
Because like last summer, I'd have got Ben Foster on the cheap.
Yeah,
just because he's
as well. I wouldn't. This is
why City buy. I've had Scott Carson for 5 years.
Yeah,
because he never plays, and that's why. Green went to Chelsea. Never going to play, but that's your home. It's just a homegrown quota person that's just boxed. And you go, they're in my 25. Never going to use them. Leave them there.
Write that off. Now you're going into the midfield. Okay, if you want to evolve the midfield, and you're saying, okay, I want Henderson to become the squad option, so I want an upgrade on that side.
Yeah, I don't think he will be next year. I think he will become that.
Yeah, but I think you've got Harvey Elliott there to come back into the side, so we'll see how he finishes the rest of this season. He could take off in the second half of the season, and we're having a different conversation.
Be like a new signing,
around a few players. Fabinho's going nowhere. I don't think the spine of the side changes much. I wouldn't be selling anyone in midfield. I wouldn't be selling Ox. I wouldn't be selling.
I think one of Ox or Keita might go.
They might,
to freshen it up. If it's me, I think they might sell Keita. Two reasons. One, there's more value in him to sell him. I think you still get buyers for him. And the big thing with Ox is it's the homegrown quota. Because we've got ourselves in a bit of a pickle at the moment. Yeah. The frustration is in probably 2 years' time, with the likes of Cade Gordon, Elliott coming through, and Tyler Morton still being around, your homegrown quota is going to be sorted. Then you don't have to worry about it. All clubs go for this flux a little bit where they have it's tight for a couple of years and it goes back to normal. Yeah, so we'll see.
But I would look at. I like Basuma. Look, I'm the same as everyone. I like Basuma a lot.
I like Basuma.
Assuming that his off-field issues are tucked away and sorted and never to be seen again, I would be all over him for 50 million. No problem.
Yeah, if you're going to buy two, say we're going to buy two centre mids.
Yeah, I would bring in two, but I wouldn't sell any of the ones that we have apart from Milner's going. So I think that you would have. See, I think we're one midfielder short as it is, which would have been the one I would have got in to replace Shaqiri. I would have got a centre mid in this last summer. So I'd be bringing in that one plus a Basuma. So I'd be bringing in two centre mids in this window, and the other one, and you all can crucify me later, would be a Renato Sanchez type player.
No.
I would like Renato Sanchez a lot. I would be going for him or Barella.
Oh, Kev, what are you doing to me?
I would be going for him or Barella. I like Barella but it's a gamble taken in Italian.
We've just spent an hour talking about how unreliable our midfielders for fitness, and you picked the guy who's more injured than Naby.
I would still take him because he's got 12 months. He's worth the gamble. He's worth the punt.
I'd rather go for Shoemini. Go for a youngster.
I would, if you were going to get Shoemini in, I wouldn't get Basuma.
Well, see, the reason I say both is because Shoemini for me knows he's not going to play much. He's going to be blooded in for a couple of days, taken out for a couple of days because he's basically Fab's cover for cup games.
Yeah,
that's what he's there for. And then in 2-3 years' time, the idea is he is the Fab 2 when Fab moves on with age. Whereas Basuma, we start him now. It doesn't really matter where you play him. You play him in the Fab 6. You could play him or in the box-to-box gesture, I think would suit him better because he's so dynamic. I just don't want.
But I don't
I'm
think
so
he's that.
scarred by injury post players.
I know, but I don't think he's that type of player who is incisive with his passing. And I think Renato Sanchez and Barella are. I think those type of players would be more like your attacking mid. I think Basuma is your holding, your defensive cover. Tchouameni is the same. He's very much seated. I like Zakaria. I think some of the guys were chatting about him in the chat. He's one I wouldn't mind seeing done now, but I don't think you do him in the summer.
Yeah,
I just think that we need something different and something reliable, and it's the one thing with Barella and not so much Renato Sanchez or Grant yet, but
yeah,
the other option you could look at is Gavi at Barcelona.
Gavi. We believe so. Or the other one, and only because it's a Liverpool thing, and they never seem to go away. Is Neuhaus.
Neuhaus, yeah, he's not having the best of seasons. He's done okay. I think he's got about five goals this season. I think he's a Gladbach still.
Again, is this a player whose head's turned?
I don't know because
you kind of see Liverpool. It's very rare Liverpool if they're heavily linked on. They were and it's one of the few the actual local patch journalists talked about. They don't tend to go away, so there must be. He must have something that Klopp wants in him.
The thing is, he's only played. I think he started 10. He's played 18. I think he started 10. You know, and it's a good goal return afterwards. He's very good. His passing range is phenomenal, and his composure on the ball is very, very good. But I think if you wanted to look at a long-term player, Gavi would be very interesting. But I think our name is being linked with him for him to sign a new contract. Steve would love to announce Fekir, mate, but he extended his contract with Betis. So sorry, he extended his contract with Betis today. Other than that, it would have been a great idea.
Here's the fun bit then. Who you buying up front? So many. I think when you made a look, we'd worked out there were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 10 options we went.
Yeah.
That ranged from a freebie to mid-30s to 60 million, depending on what you're looking at. And none of them are Mbappe or
I think there's so much smoke around Luis Diaz.
Yeah, it does feel like that.
It feels like that one could actually do. You know, I think that's one. I think that we could end up visiting for sure.
Yeah, which is an exciting idea.
Fabian Ruiz is an interesting shout for midfield. He's a decent player, but I think he's not that type that we'd be looking at. Christopher Nkunku would be a very good option, a left field option. Najib is right. He's having an absolute baller of a season for Leipzig. Leipzig, he'd be the type of player that if you were going for him in the summer last year, he would have cost you between 18 and 22 million. Next summer, if he moves, you're talking 55, 60.
Yeah.
You know, he's having that kind of a season that he just can't be ignored. He's one of the best players in Germany. You know, he's an absolute top tier player. But at the same time, this is really his first proper breakout season. You know, he was a good player. Pardon me. He was a good player, but this season he's really elevated. He's really kicked on. He gets goals from midfield. He gets assists. He can play in the front three. He can play in midfield. Bowen is another one I like. He would be an ideal signing, but I think I said it, and I know Keith said it as well.
He can play as number 8.
I think Klopp would turn him into an 8. I could definitely see him evolving as his career goes on. I think he drops further back into that 8 role, and he would be a serious attacking threat.
Okay, so who are you getting with Luis Diaz then?
If you're losing Divock Origi, I would be looking for a target man, or not a target man, but a physical presence of a number 9.
So Vlahovic.
I want to be in the conversation for him.
Me too. You
know, I don't think we can do all of this business. Don't get me wrong.
No.
We can do everything.
We're talking fantasy football. We've got 200 million for a laugh. Let's just, who would you go for? Because the Haaland and Mbappe stuff, they're done. They're going Real Madrid. People get annoyed saying, why are we not in the conversation? We don't know if we were, we weren't. I think a lot of these clubs will be in the conversation for all of them. There's too much smoke around them going to Real Madrid that it feels like they're done deals. And the reason Madrid can afford them is they haven't spent a lot in the last few years, and they are losing massive earners this summer. You have your Bales of the world and all that. 800 grand a week going out the door for Bale. So that frees a lot of money up to give a nice signing on fee to a Haaland and an Mbappe and pay them decent wages still.
Yeah,
and balances your books fairly well. So that's why I don't think they're going. Whereas Vlahovic, to me, he's not Haaland, but he feels like a Haaland Mark II in that sort of ilk of it, just a goal scorer. He's got a lot about him.
I think technically he's a very good player. Owen Burt mentions Frankie de Jong at Barcelona. Apparently, there is a bit of a link tonight, but it's not to us. It's a link with I think it's Juventus. Memphis Depay. Apparently, Barcelona are making available that he can leave.
He's got afford wages.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Barcelona are trying to rejig a lot of stuff. Frankie de Jong is on €463,000 a week. As good a player as I think Frankie de Jong is, then there is just no club on this planet. Every club at the minute is absolutely terrified of huge wages.
Yeah.
On a player because of what happened with Barcelona, because you can lose the run of yourself very quickly.
Owenberg said, "Is the 200 million coming from the sale of Salah?" No, we're only getting 50 for it. No, this is just an imaginary.
It's just a what if.
Yeah, FSG just won the lottery. This is a scratch card and they won it. So this is what's in their scratch card fund.
I would go for Vlahovic. Luka Jovic in the chat. I don't know. Not for me.
He lost his way at Real Madrid.
Jonathan David would be an interesting shout. Jonathan David would be, for me, a very good. Oh, another thing as well. There was news tonight from Germany about Bayern Munich left back.
Oh yeah, Alphonso Davies.
Alphonso Davies, yeah, he's having to sit out a bit of football at the minute because of a suspected heart issue.
Heart issue, yeah.
Yeah, and also in the
at
the Afcon, Aubameyang with a similar thing.
Yeah. It's becoming more of a thing now, isn't it?
I'm not going to go into. I wouldn't go into the speculations and what is. There's no point.
No. That's just. But this also
rabbit hole.
Testing and medicine gets better.
I think
these things get spotted sooner.
Yeah, I think ever since the thing at the Euros with Ericsson, clubs are a lot more alive to it now, and they're looking for things now where they may not have been looking for things before, and I think. We'll wait and see. I don't want to go down the rabbit hole. Another one would be very interesting to test the water with.
Who's that?
Serge Gnabry.
His contract's due up not this summer, next summer, isn't it? It's 2023, I think, isn't it?
He'd be very interesting to test the waters on because they've signed Sané to big money. They've signed Kingsley Coman up till 2027, I think. They've got a couple of young players coming through. I'm pretty convinced that they're going to get Adeyemi. So I wonder if they'd be open to offers for Serge Gnabry.
Do you remember Tony Peel said he wasn't good enough for West Brom? Remember those days?
Weren't they fun? Yeah. I mean, what would you be doing? What would you be doing in this window? I'd be amazed. Muslera. That's him.
Oh, I went full Football Manager. I took 7 out, put 7 in because I got bored.
I didn't go full Keith, but
I went full Keith because I had a spare half an hour. I was bored, so because I was getting Nico Phillips were going. I was binning Cater off. Origi and Minamino were going. Adrian was going. And I think it said McCarthy or Sam Johnson. If I had the choice, I'd say Sam Johnston because they're both free. The only thing with Sam Johnson, he's a very good goalkeeper. I don't think he'd want to come to be a number 2 or number 3. So,
because I think you look at, if a club like Liverpool comes for you, I honestly don't think many players.
I think if you got Sam Johnson in, you could then say to Kelleher, you can go on loan to a decent mid-table Premier League side, be a number 1 for you, get that experience under your belt, and then bring him back. But then we don't. But then we don't shit the bed when Alisson gets an injury, which he will, because touch wood, but it happens. And we go, oh, it's Sam Johnson ago. We're going, yeah, he's decent though, isn't he? I thought he's as good as Kelleher, but he's a decent back. He's a decent backup. So that's why I was thinking him. Plus, he's English, so that helps to know the quota thing. And Naguib saying, is Will Sahar worth punt? No, I think that ship sailed, and he doesn't. He doesn't have to mature. I think the Tottenham sending off showed why some of the bigger clubs have looked away from him. I still think he's too easy to wind up.
That's a great shout, Laura, by the way.
And I think in Europe, I'd be like, do you know, in Europe, I mean, look, we saw it with Atletico, how they tried to wind Mane up to get him sent off and Klopp to take him off. You'd be doing that with Zaha too much. Yeah, it's a great shout. I know Gnabry contract runs at 2020, and he would class as homegrown because he came through the Arsenal academy.
Yeah, he came. He spent enough time in England. Yeah,
like Seth.
That's actually a really, really interesting shout, Laura. I hadn't thought of that.
So what I'm going to say is I'm going to steal Laura's answer. I'm going to say Serge Gnabry and Luis Diaz.
Wouldn't be the last. It wouldn't be the first time, would it?
Yeah, steal somebody else's good idea. Why not? Midfield wise, I said Basuma, and I'd done Shumeni, but I ummed and ahed between Shumeni and Ward-Prowse. Shumeni, I thought, because you're future planning for Fabinho, but Ward-Prowse, you're replacing Milner now because he can cover lots of midfield positions, and in an emergency, he could also cover fullback, which he has done for Southampton.
Yeah.
And with his crossing ability and the way we play as fullbacks, he's basically playing right mid anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
And again, he's quite good at set pieces, so it gives just another option. So, and then forward-wise, I put Luis Diaz and Vlahovic, but I'm now sort of thinking, do you go Luis Diaz and Gnabry? I mean, Gnabry's a great shout, especially the homegrown quota thing. So, should we get that room going on Twitter?
Yeah, why not?
Gnabry to Liverpool, it's happening. Sources close to Sports Unplugged.
Yeah, it just goes to show, if you go and look at those players, right? If you go and look at those players on transfer market, and you probably add 20-30% to those values that they have on there.
Yeah,
they're not huge money. I mean, I think the most expensive of those players would probably be Basuma at 50 million.
Vlahovic, according to Transfer Market, is 63.
Yeah,
and the rumours is they want 75 million euros.
Yeah, so but that's a buyout.
That's pretty ballpark, isn't it? So
yeah.
I mean, but again, you look at Transfer Market, they're saying 36 million for Luis Diaz. You're not getting 36 million.
No, well, do you know what? I don't know.
I think you're getting close to what we paid for Jota, which is
it was 43,
45. I think that's more realistic. The rumor that came out that were leaked from the press was that's the price point Liverpool see him as.
Yeah, and I think that that's, if we're looking at players in that kind of market, right? Man City's price market for an average price for a player is between 35 and 50 million. Okay, if we're looking at players and we're signing, just for example, if we sign players at the 35 to 50 million pound range, and the scouting system that we have trust that they're buying the right type of player, I would trust Klopp to improve those players' value and their abilities, because if you're buying 35 to 50 million pound players, I don't think you're buying Muppets.
Yeah,
you're buying good players.
If we look at all the players Klopp's bought that are over 35 million plus, Chamberlain and Keita are probably the disappointments, you would say.
But I think they're only disappointments because of the minutes on the pitch that they've been able to produce.
Injuries, consistently, but there's them too. But then all the ones who paid over 35 million, Firmino,
Salah, Mane, Jota,
Fabinho, Van Dijk, Alisson. We actually do all right with that range. The low range, we're a bit hit and miss, but I think that's the risk when you go for the lower end range, unless it's someone like a Thiago where you can find a contract clause. Now, Red Steve said Gnabry is 63 million on Transfer Market, which is probably true.
But I think Transfer Market values were set at March last year, which would be
80 months on his, 80 months on a contract. When a player gets a 1 year on a contract, it slashes down
a bit.
Which is the worry about Salah.
Porto would love Origi. Apparently, Napoli were rumored to be alerted to Origi, and Napoli are losing Dries Mertens, And I think a lot of the Italian clubs are looking at the likes of Tammy Abraham and what they're doing at
Roma.
But what they're looking at is, okay, look, you weren't getting gains for Chelsea, but look at what you're doing in this league, and you're doing really well. So they might look at a Divock Origi and take a punt on players who are on the bench at top end Premier League clubs, knowing that there's every chance they can come into Serie A and light up the league. So I mean, people might dismiss it as, it's Napoli, they're a big club and that, but honestly, a lot of these squad players playing in top-end Premier League clubs could really do good jobs at most of the other clubs in Europe. They really could. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if a Napoli or someone like that did something for a Divock Origi or somewhere like that in the summer. But it's up to the player as well. I mean, at the end of the day, the thing, from what I understand with the Divock Origi deal, is it's down. There has to be three-way agreement between the club, the player, and the agent as to whether he wants to commit, extend by 12 months. I just don't think he will. I think he'll be allowed to leave in the summer. But other than that, I think we've kept these lovely people long enough, man. It's nearly 10 to midnight.
Nearly 2 hours. We need to get better our time and
we've got to narrow this stuff down slightly. But look, I just want to say thanks to everyone who's been in the chat. It's been a great discussion. We've loved your contributions. It's been absolutely fantastic. If you could as Steve would say, give the like button a tickle on your way out, would be very much appreciated. It helps us out a lot. And any suggestions you have, throw them in the comment section below at the end of the show. It would be absolutely fantastic. Anything, Chris? Anything you want to add?
No. Just look forward to the weekend's footy. So cheers for tuning in, and we'll see you all.
Well, we'll be back on Sunday.
You'll see Kev every day next week because he's on the shows all the time.
Well, we'll be back on Sunday for a post-match show with Gav. Pretty much, I think, 10 minutes after kickoff. And we'll be back then for the Fatback 4 on Sunday night as normal, 10 o'clock.
Cool. Till then, guys. Right. See you next week.
Thank you very much, guys. Cheers. Good night.